they claim that we have actual, retrieved crashes. And to avoid FOIA, they've handed those off to Boeing and to Northrop Grumman and stuff.
How about you just realize that people can handle a lot more than you think they can handle?
You are far more advanced than I am in your misuse of technology.
Welcome to Bourbon and Rum, the podcast dedicated to civil conversation. I'm Kent, I like rum, and I'm from the left side of the aisle.
And I'm Kyle, I like bourbon. I tend to be a little more conservative. We're brothers talking politics over bourbon and rum.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a bottle of Eagle Rare. We're camping this weekend in Oklahoma, so I'm sitting outside and hopefully it won't be too noisy out here. But, I was reading about Eagle Rare. I looked at some background. It's obviously the same mash bill as Buffalo Trace and E.H. Taylor and others, but it's kind of a mainstay part of Buffalo Trace. But they acquired the brand. It used to be owned by Seagram's in the 70s. I'd never heard that before. So what are you sipping on?
I'm actually having a Brugal from the Dominican Republic, and just having a little rum old-fashioned out of that, and pretty nice for an afternoon sip.
Nice. Well, you'd said you were coming from the gym, and I thought, well, nothing says workout completion like a rum drink.
Yeah, you need the pina colada flavored Gatorade is what you need. That's what I'm looking for right now.
Have you ever mixed alcohol with Gatorade? I wonder what that tastes like.
Yeah, I have. It's not good. It's not good. But now you got me thinking about these protein shakes that I take all the time, and I'm wondering,
Ooh, yeah. Mudslide. Kahlua. There you go.
A Kahlua Core Power Mudslide.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, so you're enjoying a little of the great outdoors. What have you looked at the news this week? Anything catch your eye?
Well, the big Disclosure Friday.
Right.
They did a bunch of dumps of UFO files, which, it's been intriguing taking a look at the different files. But the other thing I find really fascinating is it's kind of a news story at the bottom of the news for a lot of folks. Like, it's not even being considered like that big a deal. But then then takes my conspiratorial mind to, well, why are they burying this? I mean, I have the Fox News app. You probably do not have the Fox News app.
Do not.
But I mean, you scroll down the articles in the Fox News app, and it's like 50 stories down. And I'm thinking, what the hell is up with that? I mean, all these people have been screaming about releasing files for ages. Now it's released, and it's like, well, we don't want to tell anybody about it. It's really strange, I thought. Even like, I looked at the Drudge Report. I mean, they ran a headline on it yesterday, but now it's not even on the list, I don't think.
Right.
I haven't looked at some of the other news sites. I mean, the Wall Street Journal's got it, but again, it's kind of down the list a ways. I mean, I don't know. I thought that was a pretty big story, but it doesn't seem like they're trying to make us think it's not. What do you think's going on there?
Well, yeah, I have to say, I thought it was like, I am kind of like you. My hackles are up. Why on earth is this not just the biggest story in history? And I almost wonder if the strategy of release is honestly just like another layer of obfuscation. Like, we followed the law. We put out there 4,000 videos. I mean, what do you want? And with no navigation or interpretation at all. It's very interesting. Did you happen to catch the story that unnamed government officials summoned a group of, and I thought this was interesting, they only summoned Southern evangelical pastors to this meeting. But they gathered a group of, and apparently what it is, do you know the story I'm talking about?
Oh, I don't think so. They gathered them where?
Well, so it sounds to me like a guy or a couple of guys who are well placed in government, who themselves are conservative Christians, gathered a group of pastors together somewhere in Tennessee and said, look, the stuff that's coming out is big, and it could prove to be really it could throw people's faith for a loop, and it's also an opportunity to provide explanations in a chaotic universe or something like that. It's pretty well attested. You can search it. A couple of guys said that they were in the meeting. It wasn't a government meeting. It sounds like it was someone who's close to the action who took this upon themselves. But that very fact is, whether that was the right move or not, that's notwithstanding, I thought that someone felt like that was something they needed to do. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, and I think, it's funny. I wish. We're out here camping with my wife's family, and I was chatting with my father-in-law about this, and he used to be in ministry, and very, he's kind of a family spiritual leader, and I was talking to him about this, and like his perspective was like, well, yeah, maybe it's possible. And it doesn't change anything.
Right.
There's nothing, the Bible doesn't attest anywhere that, the earth is the only part of the universe that has ever had life before. And honestly, there's stuff in the Bible that, there's a lot of symbolism and stuff in the Bible that honestly, if we found out there was life on other planets, actually might explain more, honestly. I don't think it changes a thing from a religious perspective. I think somebody that's that statement, and I looked it up, I saw what you're talking about. I honestly, that to me ought to make you more suspicious of the spiritual leaders and what their motivation is, because are they really worried that this is going to shake people's faith, or are they worried the coffers are going to come and they're going to have a budget crisis in the mega church? And that's a lot more what it sounds like to me, because I think a lot of people of faith, sure, it'd be a surprising thing, but it doesn't change your faith. It just, you talk all the time in faith circles about the mysteries of God. Well, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of things we don't know, and that's okay, and it's like, if we're going to have a meeting with all these spiritual leaders to make sure we keep the masses under control, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
You guys don't deserve to be in charge in the first place.
Well, agree. And I don't, I'm not so much focused on that. It's more the fact that this person or persons, something that they saw compelled them to take that action. I think that's what I'm zeroed in on. I agree. I don't think that, if there's other life in the universe, which is mathematically very highly likely, if that's a problem for your faith, you probably need to modify your faith a little, like open up a little bit, So just the fact that someone would be compelled to do that is, to your point, very much at odds with a 12th story below the fold in newspapers. Like, what the hell?
But it seems like on this subject, everybody, like there's all these people that want to control this narrative to benefit or to keep the lid on something. I mean, it sounds to me like, well, obviously the government has held on to this crap thinking that they can prevent this from humankind, which I think is a mistake. And then for the media to treat it as a non-issue and to bury it tells me that to me is like a manipulative tactic. And then this thing with these pastors, well, we better meet because everybody's going to be upset. Like, how about you just realize that people can handle a lot more than you think they can handle? Like the government and the pastors and the media trying to protect people. Like, are you really trying to protect us or are you trying to manipulate us?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that the whole, I 100% agree. And the government side of this, that whatever this is, I think it's highly unlikely, it's a little like the E word, like you're probably not going to find a Word doc buried in there that's like, all right, here's how this works. There's the reptilians and the grays, and these ones are from here, and these ones are, you're probably not going to get that kind of specificity anyway. But the hubris of the government employee, one of the things, you've probably heard this if you've read any of the stuff, that I think Obama has mentioned this, there are people that will tell the president of the United States, like, well, you're really on a need-to-know basis for this stuff. Like,
yeah.
What the hell could it be? Like, what could it possibly be that oh no, we can't entrust the president of the United States with this info? I mean, if there was something really that shocking, come on.
Well, and then we've talked about this before, but who in the hell are these people that are surviving president to president that are retaining this information? Because that to me tells me, okay, is the president really in charge? Or are these unelected yahoos the people in charge?
Yeah, I think that's a huge, huge problem. I don't know how far down this rabbit hole you've gone. There's a couple of guys that have been out doing a lot of talking about this. David Grusch and what's his name? Luis Elizondo, who wrote a book about this. And I'm not ready to, kind of weigh in on the credibility of these guys. Did you see the movie, the documentary Age of Disclosure or whatever?
I did not watch it. Did you?
Yeah, I did. And so I think these guys are there's a little bit of nutso going on. But still, despite that, I'm just like, one of the things that they've pointed out is that, talk about your military industrial complex. Now, again, some of this, I mean, you talk about a great conspiracy theorist listening to yahoos online and then retweeting that in our own podcast. So forgive me for this. But the allegation is that one of the things that's happened is, they claim that we have actual, retrieved crashes. And to avoid FOIA, they've handed those off to Boeing and to Northrop Grumman and stuff. And honestly, I kind of believe, I don't doubt it, I guess is what I'm saying. I don't have reason to believe it, but I could see somebody saying, you know what, if we just turn it over to these guys, then we get that out of FOIA and we don't have to worry about it.
Well, Tim Burchett was on Joe Rogan yesterday, and he's a representative from, I think, Tennessee or somewhere like that. And he's one of the big advocates of releasing all this stuff. And he's been, researching, digging into this stuff for years, and it's been generally considered by the establishment as a quack for, I think, in a lot of ways, for trying to dig through it. But But one of the things he was talking about is that very thing. But, he brought up a good point, too. It's like, would we be struggling with drones in the Strait of Hormuz if we had billion-year-old technology that, gets you to another light year away? I mean, I don't think we'd be struggling with the crap that we're struggling with today if they were really employing that technology.
Right. But maybe you've happened along the actual real problem, because the inability to harness and marshal it, I think likelier, I guess, than that they've cracked the code, they've figured it out, and they're using it. I think likelier it's humiliating that we've had this stuff since Roswell. I don't know if that's true, but we can't figure it out.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, and to your point, like, we're talking about the Bible, and we're talking about there's these mysteries of the Bible that life in outer space could explain. You see things like the pyramids. You see things like Stonehenge, and you think, okay, this doesn't make any sense. But in the context of life on another planet, they could make sense, but it still doesn't necessarily explain to you what the hell it means. It could still be, it's like really advanced and crazy, but like you could look at it for the next 50 years unless somebody, and honestly, I mean, here's a crazy thought too. Could the people that are visiting us from these other planets even explain it to you if you talk to them? It's kind of like if they sent me back in time 300 years with an iPhone, I could meet with the most brilliant scientists, and I'm not going to help them figure out how the hell it works. I'm like, I don't know how it works. It works,
Sir Isaac Newton, it's nice to meet you. Here's my phone. Let me. No, exactly. No, you got to swipe. No, Isaac, you got to. I will put on record, just in case it all shows up and now we see it, that I think, to me, way more plausible than aliens is pre-existing civilizations on Earth that are largely invisible to us. I'm no physicist, but like, the speed of light does seem like kind of a hard stop to me. So I think that, and we have literally on this podcast had discussions about should we be buying fighter jets or just using drones rather than spending the money for the life support that, how much of the fighter's fuel gets burnt just keeping the guy alive. Please tell me that they haven't made that same calculus before they send their comrades, 100,000 light years away. Like, yeah. Why are they flying saucers that occasionally break down if they've got the wisdom to get here? That doesn't make sense to me. Now, not ancient aliens, but ancient civilization. The pyramids are old. I think the Sphinx is even older, right? And could there be a civilization that rose and that had technology and then fell, or that slid out of our sight? There's a lot of this stuff talks about water and these craft being as comfortable in water as in the air. And, it's been said, I think it's not untrue, we know more about the surface of the moon than we do about the floor of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans.
Yeah. Well, I think the other possibility, and some of the information, some of the stuff I've heard from, they had another congressman that she saw some supposed evidence about the existence of interdimensional time travel. I mean, that's the only way you would physically be able to move from these other far-reaching areas. And, time travel sounds crazy, but all the rest of this crap sounds crazy too. I mean, it's as possible as all the rest of this stuff, honestly.
Yeah. If we can figure out time travel, I swear I am going to buy NVIDIA way back, and my portfolio is going to look much better if we can get that time travel calculated.
I've told you that in another podcast, so forgive me, but my favorite thing ever was I was at that base and I'm talking to this guy and he's like, yeah, I'm getting ready to retire. He's my last day tomorrow. I'm retiring. And I've worked with this guy and all kinds of projects. He's really, a normal dude. And I'm like, so what are you going to do in retirement? He's like, serious as a heart attack. He's like, yeah, I've been trying to figure out if I could crack the code on time travel. Okay, well, good luck,
But bless his heart. Like they say, you've got to have, I'm several years out from retirement, but I'm thinking about it. And, I'm my YouTube feed gives me lots of videos. And one of the constant things that people say is you've got to have a passion or something that kind of motivates you. And, I suppose.
And that's a lot of physics classes. And it's probably a lot of learning.
You're wearing out the slide rule. I mean, it would definitely keep you going.
Yeah. It would definitely occupy your mind.
No, I think this whole thing is really interesting. And again, like, especially if it turns out to be a bit of a nothing burger, like, again, who's the jackass who has said for 70 years, oh, we got to keep this from the people. We simply can't trust.
Right.
Come on. I don't know.
Well, and especially if it's technology that's so advanced they can't figure it out. I mean, okay, give it to the Russians and the Chinese. Who gives a crap? They're not going to figure it out either. I mean.
Right. So this is a rabbit hole within a rabbit hole. We had to do some driving this week, and we listened to part of a book on an audio book. Basically, it's a biography of Demis Hassabis, who's the CEO of Google DeepMind. Really interesting book and a really interesting guy. Let me just say that much. But he and Dario Amodei of Anthropic were on a panel, and they were talking. And they were talking about, the well-tread ground of worries about AI security. Might have been a different podcast. But anyway, the point was, this was actually Jeffrey Hinton, who said that if anybody can figure out how to safely harness AI, the Chinese, us, Russians, anybody working on it, they'll share it all, because it's the kind of thing that it's in everybody's interest to control AI. The difference, and it's a little like nuclear weapons in that sense. Like, we might disagree about the danger of climate change, but the thing is, the problem with climate change is that if everybody gets together and agrees on a treaty, the incentive to cheat is really high, because as long as everybody else is playing by the rules, I can cheat and it's not going to ruin the planet, right? Like my own specific thing, if I'm the only one doing it, isn't going to mess it up. I was thinking about this with nuclear weapons. The parallels to the Manhattan Project with what we're doing right now with AI, I think, are pretty compelling. But for all of the talk about nuclear war, and for all of the fear of it, and for all of the horror of what an atomic bomb can do, it would be hard to argue that atomic weaponry has done anything other than guarantee 80 years of relative peace. Right? Like, not absolute peace. We've got war.
Yeah.
We got two wars going on. But do we not think that we would have found a way to come to blows along the Iron Curtain in Eastern Europe during the 1960s and 70s if the fear of nuclear war wasn't hanging over everybody's head?
Well, and, to that point, I was reading an article about Putin. They had their victory parade, and they also came to the realization that the war in Ukraine has extended longer than their, fight in World War II. So, the great victory is a little bit muted by the fact that they got a war that's lasting longer. Which, by the way, I don't know if you saw Ilhan Omar when she was giving her remarks, and she was reading the remarks that somebody gave her, and she said, something like this has not happened since World War XI. Apparently she missed that it was World War II. But
yeah, it's almost like 2 Corinthians. That kind of stuff will throw you.
Exactly. But that aside, the Putin thing, one of the things they said is they think by most Western estimates, Russia has lost 350,000 troops in Ukraine.
Cow.
And if you think about the fact they've lost 350,000 people and he hasn't fired a nuke yet.
Right.
And I'm not encouraging to fire a nuke, but
nope.
Like, well, the hell would you use one if you're going to lose that many people?
Right. And we don't think that it's the essential virtue of Vladimir Putin that's protecting us, right? Like even
right.
even this psychopath has done the math and said, "No, it's not worth it." I don't know. I think it's interesting
right.
that the irony of the most horrible weapon ever has led to relative. Again, I don't want to downplay the bad things that have happened, and it doesn't mean there's no conflict. But we haven't had.
No, but hasn't been. Nobody's been lobbing nukes at each other.
Right. Well, and we haven't lobbed nukes at each other, and we also haven't had. And again, probably less of a big deal now, but this Ukraine thing is arguably the biggest destabilization to the world order that we've had. I've got my issues with what we're doing in Iran, but it's kind of small ball in the big picture because it's not like it really throws everything into, you know what I mean? Iran was already sanctioned by the world. They just weren't following through for the most part. But yeah,
I think the story of Ukraine is just what a joke Russia is.
Yeah.
They're not all that.
Right.
3 years and you've lost most of your armed forces, and they've accomplished nothing they've killed a lot of people, broken a lot of stuff, but they haven't met their aims. They haven't taken Kyiv. It's just like, what the hell are we worried about Russia for?
Yeah. Well, again, because of the nukes, I guess. You know what I mean? That's the other downside is that otherwise irrelevant powers are relevant.
I.e. North Korea, yes.
Yeah. I saw that same article about Russia. That statistic blew my mind. I'd forgotten how relatively short World War II was between Russia and Germany. It was late in the game that Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa. Arguably the dumbest thing any human has ever done, by the way. Why? Anyway, that's another day's issue, but I'm not sure that we could have won the war. I'm not sure that we could have pulled off D-Day if Hitler hadn't opened the Eastern Front. But when you talk about Russian Victory Day, the level of casualties that this is something that, for all of my fear of Russia and condemnation of Russia, I think most Americans have no idea the level of sacrifice that Russia made in the fight against Germany and the price that was paid there. And so, again, I'm not making excuses for anything Stalin ever did, but they lost millions of people. I don't know if you've got your computer up what the U.S. death toll was of World War II. 350,000 sticks in my mind. Not trivial, not something to laugh about, but Russia's was like 2 million, including a lot of civilians.
Yes, well, no, Soviet Union total deaths 24 to 27 million.
Wow.
And then, like you said, United States total deaths 418,000. I mean,
a
lot, but not
that's
many.
a lot, right? That's horrible. But as we were kids, this is, again, rabbit hole within rabbit hole within rabbit hole. Our grandfather was a World War II veteran, and that living link, again, we could look this statistic up, but, the youngest World War II veterans, guys that were 20 in 1945, help me do the math, there can't be very many of them left, I guess is my point.
Right.
But it was ubiquitous. When we were kids, everybody we knew had somebody, anybody that you knew had somebody in their family that was affected by the war. Everybody.
Yeah.
And our casualties were 1/60th of the Soviet Union's.
I think this is the better estimate here. So if you look at the population percentage, so Soviet Union, 14 to 16% of the population. Now above that is Poland.
Right.
Poland was 16 to 17% of the population because they had 5 to 6 million out of 300, out of 35 people. 35 million people. The United States, percentage-wise, was, I had it up and I left it here.
Well, you could guess. Wouldn't it be about 0.5%? We were probably 200 million people in the country at that time. 400,000 died. 1% would be 2 million. So like a quarter of a percent. I don't know, round numbers.
0.3%. Yeah, good guess, Kent.
So Russia's death toll on the order of 50x in terms of percentage what ours was?
Yeah.
That's staggering. That is staggering.
Germany at 10 to 11%. Yugoslavia at 11%. And then Lithuania and Latvia were really high too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, again, I think my only point on that is that part of the reason that Russia, again, the number of people dead from Russia in Ukraine is on the order of what we lost in World War II.
Yeah, totally. That's crazy.
And Putin steams on unimpeded by that. That's stunning to me.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that, he's still in power.
Right.
Back to our conversation last week. What's he going to do to that place before people are going to be like, okay, this is enough?
Yeah, I don't know. How did we get here from UFOs?
Yeah, that is quite a... how did we get here? We need one of these, like AI when you're doing a ChatGPT thing that keeps a running tally of all your questions that got you to that point.
Right.
No.
Well, I think I was comparing the current AI work to the Manhattan Project, maybe. Oh, yeah, I guess the other thing is that I've been thinking a lot about AI and about the risks. And call me crazy. I've tried. I've literally tried, but I can't get myself to paranoia about what's going to happen. I have concerns. I worry about it. Jeffrey Hinton is one that I mentioned. One of the guys that invented it, won a Nobel Prize, who's been out for 2 years saying we're going too fast. This stuff can really be dangerous. Like, I believe him.
I mean, okay, maybe there's a risk, but I love it. I am using Claude in my day-to-day job. I mean, we just I think I told you this. We brought on a subscription to Claude where it locks down our proprietary data.
Yeah.
And so it's like our own little assistant. I mean, I got hooked up on that thing last week. I mean, the amount of work I've done in the last week is like 20x what I did in the week before. I mean, it is unbelievable, the workload. And it's way better than ChatGPT, but it's still not perfect. I mean, I'll have it spit out a presentation and it's like, well, this isn't going to work. I got to fix this and I got to change this. It's not going to be exactly how I want it. So like, these tools are great. They're not perfect, but they're tools, and it's like,
right.
To me, it's like, well, PowerPoint is a hell of a lot easier than Harvard graphics and printing out on an overhead slide. So yes, I mean, if we need to be worried about advancing past overheads to PowerPoint, maybe there was things that we should have been worried about that. But to me, it's just an extension of that. It's like, it's the next level. And I say, embrace the hell out of it and try to master it and use it to your, because I mean, at some point, is it possible AI does everything? Maybe, but I think there's still a role for us. Even if it's just right now we're directing traffic and
right.
We're directing thoughts. Now, maybe some of that changes over time, but I don't know. I feel like you just got to adapt with it. And I think the bigger concern to me is this whole talk about universal basic income, where AI and robots are going to do everything and everybody can just sit on their butt and do nothing all day. That's the scary part to me. It's not even so much, the diabolical nature or the control or whatever. It's that people become a bunch of catatonic,
zoo animals is the usual comparison.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But to me, the way to avoid that is to embrace it and engage with it every day. Like sitting back and thinking it's, one, either sitting back and ignoring it, or two, trying to figure out how you can make it do everything so you don't have to do anything. It seems like the wrong path.
Yeah, in general, I very much agree with you. And I think the right approach is to say, it's still a tool. Somebody's got to say what we're doing. I got like 3 big, huge personal Claude projects, like massive, like things that you would hire multiple developers to do just for kicks for myself. But I'm calling those shots. I'm directing that work. And I think, yeah, you got to stay on top of that. I'm going to let the producer look for a clip on YouTube of Kent Brockman on The Simpsons saying, "I, for one, welcome our new alien overlords."
To me, the biggest concern I have, and maybe I'm overly competitive, but like, okay, I'm using it to do this, this, and this. I guarantee you there's 10 people that have figured out how to make it do this, this, and this. And like, I got my productivity 20x. They figured out how to get their productivity 1,000x. You know, like that is the part that keeps me up at night is like, how do you leverage it to the maximum amount possible? And there's other people that have figured that out more than probably we have.
Yeah. No, I think that that's true. There are people that are ahead of you. There are a lot more people that are behind you. I find it really, I don't know if it's fear or laziness. There's a lot of Luddite mentality around right now. And I just don't understand it, you know.
Luddite. I don't know that.
The Luddites were actually a movement during the Industrial Revolution. Were like, these weaving machines are crap. We gotta get rid of this, and you know, go back to making fabric at home from our own spinning. You know, I don't know. You know, my analogy or comparison is this the printing press? I think that I'm old enough to remember, and you do too, say 1995 to 1998 or 9, when people talked about the internet.
Yeah.
Right? It is kind of like this. It's like, oh my gosh, everything's going to be over. People are going to be so stupid they can't think.
I remember specifically in the 90s renting a movie at Blockbuster and hanging out with somebody and saying specifically, you know, there'll be a time when you can just email somebody a TV show. And they're like, no way. But, you know, there's so many things like that, you know, I mean, like Star Trek, somebody's talking into their watch and you see that. I guess, again, back to my point about AI, I think the bigger challenge is how big can you imagine? Because if you can imagine it, it'll happen. But if you can't imagine it,
right,
it won't happen. And so, to me, part of this is it's easy, even today in the technology today, you could sit and stare at your phone looking at reels. You know, I've been on a flight before where I'm crammed in a middle seat and I'm like, okay, I can't get any work done. I can't move. But, you know, I got an internet connection, so I'll sit here and watch reels on YouTube. It's mindless entertainment. And, you know, 3 hours disappear like an instant.
Right.
I feel like the biggest fear is that people stop imagining big things. And they start just getting lulled to sleep by this crap. Because, honestly, I mean, hell, it would be fun to have a podcast and do nothing but imagine crazy shit that AI could do. I mean, that could be...
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like we need to do more of that, because otherwise it's all going to happen and we're just going to be passengers.
100% agree. And I think that I still believe that people lead, that human creativity. I don't know. I love Claude, and I'm amazed by some of the things that it finds looking at data, for example. But I can still spot that writing across the room. You know what I mean? Like it's reflecting back collective humanity. Humanity is the creative engine that drives it.
I got a guy I work with that, I think he's a little older than me, and he thinks it's interesting, but he's like, you know, whatever. Like, he's not really engaging, but, you know, I've sent him some stuff, and so now he's like, and he doesn't I don't think he still realizes that it's Claude. He thinks it's Claudio. So I get these emails from it. Hey, can you see if Claudio can do something with this?
I think the Claudio is the version that they release in Latin America. That's
Exactly.
I had a thought on that too. I remember what I was going to say. when we talk about, when you imagine the most crazy, the most wild, I mean, it's out there. You can already see glimpses of crazy. If you've used one of the coding tools, and it's insane. But then I would encourage you to look around. So this happened this week. I saw my grandson, and who's 4, and we were in a hotel. We were in our hotel room. We went to visit, and he picked up the hotel desk phone, just looking at it, and he knew to put the headset to his head, right? But I said, have you ever talked on a phone with a cord like that? And I think the answer is no, unless, the phone was dead and it was plugged in. So if you look back just how far we've come since, say, 2000, 25 years, you roll back to 25 years, we had computers then, we had word processors. I'm telling you, it was a different world. And so, yeah, the future's coming at us at warp speed, but you know what? It's been coming at us at warp speed, and we've lived through it and managed through it.
Yeah. What is a way now or the future we could use technology in what we do? And it would be fun. It would be interesting to get a chatbot that listened in on our conversations, and then we could consult. Well, what do you think?
Or a co-host.
Yeah.
We could just throw to it live.
Yeah.
Do you use... So, I feel like I'm pretty tech forward. I never use voice with my... You know what I mean? Like some people, they dictate their text messages. I don't ever do that. And I don't know why. I just... I'm really uncomfortable talking out loud to my phone.
Well, I like it with AI. I do it a lot with AI. If I'm in a car, I'll have dialogue, and because then it's talking back. When I'm writing something for work or something, I think better if I'm typing. I don't think as well if I'm talking. I have to do multiple drafts, but I do love talking to AI. Or I've been doing this thing with. I have a custom GPT for bourbon, and I'll do a bourbon tasting session with it, and I'll be like, okay, this is what I'm smelling, and it's like, oh, do you smell this? And then do you smell that? But then the problem is I so long for the human interaction that after a couple of bourbons and I'm doing the tasting, I'm like, dude, you got to have a sip of this, and he's like, well, I can't drink it. I was like, well, you really need to.
It's all fun and games till you try to get it to drink.
Right. Yeah. That would be really hard to make work. But
they ought to have like a little side button that you give it a cocktail, and if you give it more than 3 in an hour, it starts to slur its words. And
well, I've done that actually. Well, I haven't gotten to slur words, but I got it to, how would you say this if you were drunk, or,
you are far more advanced than I am in your misuse of technology.
Yeah. Well, so I use Claude all the time for work because we have that private thing. I use ChatGPT a lot. I still use it. I do like how it writes in some respects for work, and then I use it for other. It's kind of like my, almost like my web browser if I'm researching something or looking at something. But then I use Grok a lot. I wound up biting a bullet and paying the $30 a month for Grok because the videos and the images it does are awesome, and it doesn't have any restrictions. Like you can say, hey, have a couple people punch each other. It's like, okay, like ChatGPT is very, it's like dealing with your mom or something, but
I'm sorry, Kyle, I can't do that.
Right. Although I did find I was trying to find somebody's address, and none of them will give you somebody's address. So I thought that was interesting.
Well, who says there's no ethics among AI?
Yeah.
I do find I use tools differently. Claude's my go-to for big projects, for important things. But I pay for Claude, and I've got a subscription. I have a subscription, and then I'm frequently paying overages because I get started on something, and it's like, you've reached your limit. It resets in 3 hours. Do you want to pay to keep going? I'm like, oh, yeah, come on.
Yeah.
I use Gemini a lot for, like, I kind of don't want everything about me to be in the memory of any one of these things.
Yeah.
So I have like certain topics that I talk about with Gemini and certain topics that I focus on with Claude.
I would really like one to be able to have like a, almost like going to a therapy, a counseling session to be able to break things down. But I'm really uneasy having any type of dialogue with any of them at that level, because it's like, I don't know if it's safe.
Yeah.
But honestly, I mean, this sounds like, may sound bad, but I think of anything AI could do is therapy. Because, a good therapist just listens anyways. Like a really good therapist isn't telling you what to do. They're like, well, tell me about this, and then guides you a little bit. You know what I mean? And it's like, that to me seems like something you could absolutely use an AI tool for.
Yeah. Well, and again, I'm sensitive to concerns around safety and stuff, but it also hit me one day not too long ago. Like, this is the sum total of human wisdom. That's what it does. It goes and hoovers up everything off the web. And I think to a degree, your fear factor is driven by, like, what do you think of humanity? If it's gonna read up everything, one of the things that was raised is like, well, it's gonna read the diaries of serial killers. Yeah, but it's also gonna read the diaries of saints. Like, on average, are humans good or bad? And I don't think humans are perfect. My Christian worldview is that people are flawed, that we're imperfect, that we need redemption. But I also don't think that means that we're irredeemable. And no, in general, I think people do choose to do the right thing. They choose to do the right thing until resources get scarce, at least. That's when it separates things.
I don't worry about, I love the fact that it can pull knowledge of things. I'm more, and like I read something about some guy got divorced and the AI convinced him to kill himself. And I'm thinking, okay, but if you're in that state, you're probably, I don't know that AI.
He didn't go into that conversation in the best of places.
Right, you got other issues going on. I'm a little more uneasy about, privacy. And like, is what you say really between you and a machine? I think, if I'm putting in work PowerPoint charts, I'm not too worried about it. But like, if I say, hey, this son of a bitch, somebody in particular has really pissed me off and I can't stand them, and I have, I'm not saying I would say this to a chat bot, but like, if you're like, I have fantasies of shooting a guy, like, okay, do they call somebody, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's the same kind of concerns with the council. I don't know. It's like, it's a good example. We know pilots in our midst, and pilots often are worried about having a conversation with the counselor because it could, leak out, and the FAA finds out, and there's something wrong with you, and they, like, there's a paranoia there that's more around privacy than anything else. And I'm not paranoid about most things, but
Yeah.
I think there's a limit to how vulnerable I'd be willing to be.
Yeah. Agree. I agree with you on that. I tend to not, I probably don't worry about that enough, but it's a little for me like I feel with the, when 20 million social security numbers are leaked from a credit card company. Like, well,
why am I the one that's,
when they say
right, yeah.
8 social security numbers were leaked from a credit card company. Okay, now that catches my attention. But, like at some level, I don't know. I would hope that the level of goofiness of me probably doesn't rise. I don't know.
Yeah,
who knows?
I think that's true. For sure. So that's something to consider. Maybe we...
I like it.
I think we tried it once.
Yeah.
But we just had, and it was being... I think it was grok, and I had it on, be an asshole type of a thing, and it was an asshole. But like, I think if we, Claude could be a good one.
Yeah.
And train it to, give a balanced opinion, and maybe periodically we do a podcast and we have a guest. Claude's a guest.
I think it's worth a shot. And again, we did kind of mess with it. I'll point out that was 18 months ago, 2 years ago.
That's true. It's way different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, wait a second, Kent. No, here's the thing we do. Like, you create a custom GPT or a Claude project or something, and I'll do one. I'll make a conservative one, or a Republican one, you make a Democrat one, and then we'll let them go at it with each other. That could be fun.
Well, Republican, Democrat, hell, you know what we could do? We could just ingest 2 years of the podcast and say,
yeah,
emulate me in this conversation.
Right. Yeah.
With your grok asshole. We could...
Yeah. That could be good. And then we could do a polite conversation, and then with grok you say do an unhinged conversation.
I actually like the idea of a third party in the conversation, and I think we'd have to choose topic pretty carefully. Honestly, one of the things is that as a veneer of safety, a lot of them are real hands-off about politics, which is not necessarily a good thing. But maybe we just, it's like the trifecta. Like, hey, Claude, we'd like to interview you, and the topics are UFOs and the Epstein files.
Hey, thanks for joining us on this episode of Bourbon and Rum Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Remember to subscribe on your favorite platform and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us keep the good spirits flowing.
And we invite you to join this conversation. Follow us on our Facebook page. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want to hear.
And until next time, cheers.